Welcome, everybody, to the One to Go show presented by Dirt Track Supply. It is Bert Lehman. It is Ryan Aho. It is Puka. Welcome, fellas. And I'll tell you what, this was the first weekend, long time that I sensed it. I could feel it. The racing season is definitely winding down. Not as much time sat behind, the TV streaming racing.
Yeah, streaming, thank God for streaming, because it's getting a little cold in our neck of the woods, right? So I'd rather be sitting behind, sitting on the couch eating popcorn, watching races than be at the track this time of year. Bert, how about you? Did you get much racing in this weekend?
I did not go to any races. Actually, I didn't watch any streaming over the weekend. I crammed all my streaming in on Monday. So that's one nice thing about streaming is you don't necessarily have to watch it when it's actually taking place. Because Ogilvy, that was during the day on Saturday because they moved the time, and we'll get to that later in the show. But streaming is really nice in that regards.
I suppose when you were going to high school, college, if you went, you were that kid then that waited till like 15 minutes before the test and crammed in all your studies in too. Since you're cramming for the show, did you cram for school too?
No, normally I didn't cram in college. I would get up early in the morning though, just to double check everything. But to relate my college days with racing, that was when I first started in MJ McBride's pit crew. And so at the end of the season, when we'd go on road trips and stay overnight at hotels, I'd bring a bag of books with me, backpack full of my college books because I was going to study. Needless to say, I don't think I ever studied, though, while I was on a racing trip. I brought the books, but they never really came out of the backpack.
That was the right move.
Yeah, it's the thought that I know Trajan Schmidt, that young gun over in South Dakota, runs a super stock. He brought all of his homework to the 100, and he asked me multiple times, "Can I get on the Wi-Fi?" And he actually did do schoolwork there. I don't know. He's too responsible for me. I don't know how to take that. So, episode 101. It's getting a little tougher. I got a couple in mind, but Bert, 101, you got one?
I do not have anybody.
Bert, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. That's 2 weeks in a row. So
I know.
We're gonna have to we'll make you start over at one. Just quickly give us a number one, because we have a 101, but give us a number one.
A number one, Dan Machonsky from Leopolis. He's a IMCA stock car driver. He won a track championship at Toronto Speedway in the IMCA stock car class. Back in it would probably been late 90s. He raced a sportman class for a year or so, which is what we would basically say are crate late models today. So he does have some late model experience in that regard.
There you go, Puka. I know you have a 101.
Oh yeah, the guy from our area here, Paul Schultz, who incidentally, race fans, if you know Paul Schultz or want to know more about Paul Schultz, jump over to the One to Go Show YouTube page. Just interviewed him a couple of weeks ago here at the Bemidji Stampede. Competitor's been at it for a long time. Supers, I think I remember him in a super. I remember him in a mod. And now, of course, the sprint car. How about you, Ryan? You said you have a couple.
Northern Renegades non-link sprint. I ran a lot of laps against him in the supers and in the mods. But, of course, the reason he was 101 is his dad, John Schultz, was 101. And, of course, he's in the Hall of Fame over at the Grand Rapids Speedway. I believe he was the first guy to bring modifieds, or our version of modifieds, up to northern Minnesota. He was one of the first modified guys. So he did that. I remember back in the day they had a street claimer class, and he had a whole slew of them. And I think it was he had the Orange Blossom Special. I don't exactly remember what the team was called, but they were all orange, and they kind of had a rivalry going with several other teams over there in the street claimer deal. But Hall of Famer over in Grand Rapids, and then another guy that I have, Kevin Pappenfuss from up in North Dakota, super stock guy, and he always digs on me. I went out to a race in North Dakota, and we had a battle, I think 3 of us. He won that deal. He's like, he wasn't so good. I beat him, he said. So, but he's in the Hall of Fame at the River City Speedway up in Grand Forks. So couple Hall of Famers there in the 101s. And, of course, you mentioned Dirt Track Supply. Want to give them a shout-out. Thanks to Trevor. Thanks to Ron. all they do for the show, all they do for racing. The season is winding down. Get your stuff over to them so that they can freshen it up and, get your chassis all repaired. They do tin work. They do everything over there. Get a hold of them. Get your parts in Watertown, South Dakota Dirt Track Supply. So what do you say we start with a little recap here? The Vernon Racing Invitational season recap. And really, in our area, guys, there was one show. That's it. One show. And it was the 18th annual Minnesota Truck Headquarters Fall Classic over at the Big O, Ogilvie, Minnesota. And they had their heats on Friday, features on Saturday, over 300 cars. They had a pretty packed house over there. Did you guys get to watch any of the racing action from this past weekend?
Odds and lates for me.
Same here. I watched the late model feature and the modified feature.
And I watched the late model heats too.
And first off, I would like to thank Pat Dorr for winning that race, and we'll get into the reason why later on in the show.
Frickin' Moss has let me down. I should give a donkey award to Dave Moss for not holding on to that win so I can hold on to my point lead. So, yeah, Dave, thanks a lot, man. You're still messing.
But actually, they moved the start time up for that race. I'm assuming it was because there was weather coming in later in the day. And, it's good to see them take fans into consideration and, trying to get the show in. But I think we all agree that we're not fans of day racing. So I was a little skeptical of what the racing was going to be like. But it was actually, the late model feature and the mod feature was spectacular. But the late model feature was very good too. They were racing on the top and the bottom. So, that's good to see for day racing.
Absolutely. And Puka, what stuck out to you over in Ogilvie?
Yeah, I agree that the day racing seemed to have worked out, but the humidity was pretty high. Like I said, they did have some crowd cover. Not crowd cover, cloud cover. That helped a little bit. But they did have the crowd cover too. It looked like a really good crowd. So congrats to everyone down there. Like I said, this is a great facility, great track. We talked a little bit about it last week. I touched on it. I don't know, that track's about 20-ish years old and seems like just it gets better and better. And I hear good things. And like I said, 300 cars. Guys like to go down there and race. So they've got a combination that guys like they're doing something right. You talked about Dave Moss last to first in that late model heat, passing Edgington for the lead. Pretty impressive. Just want to give a plug to the veteran Harry Hansen from up in our area. He was able to muscle a heat win down there. Our buddy Jordo in a modified, or is that his brother?
Brother, John.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw the modified run around there a little bit. And then, like Bert alluded to, Pat Dorr, third straight in the late model. Congrats. Right after the legendary at Cedar Lake, Ryan, you had mentioned that Nick Beninsky, where we had talked a little bit about him. He said the guy's got talent, pulled into a third place finish, looked good. And Dave Moss with the runner-up finish, led some laps, kind of ending the season the way he started the season. He was really fast, and at the beginning he kind of went through a lull almost all summer. Good finish at the WOZOTA 100. Now a good follow-up here at the Fall Classic. So Ryan, I'll turn it over to you and maybe ask: have you heard? What changed in Dave Moss's program?
Well, I know he hurt a motor, and then all of a sudden I don't know exactly what happened. He kind of went through the better part of the season with a different one they put in. And the problem with those crates is you just don't know what you're going to get. There's no consistency with them. So I don't know if he had it refreshened or refurbished or what, but he got awfully quick again at the end of the year. In fact, I would say, Jimmy Mars won the 100, but, when you look at the lap times, Dave Moss was faster than him. Jimmy was a sitting duck until he got in the lap traffic, and his experience got him through that. And then same thing with the Big O. Dave Moss had the best car. He drove by Pat Dorr. He drove away, and he was charging the high side in 3 and 4, and then it locked down about, I think it was a 40-lap feature. It must have been about 8-10 laps left in the bottom, especially in 1 and 2 lockdown. 3 and 4 started lockdown. Dorr found the rubber and was able to sneak back by him. And if Moss would have had somebody giving him signals or whatever and kind of saying, get to the rubber, he probably wins that race. He had the best car. So pretty impressive. And, the heat races all night with 300 some cars, I'm like, it's going to be a disaster. I watched most of the racing. I didn't watch, a couple of the lower classes or whatever, but the heat races were all good. And what I was impressed with is if you had a good hot rod, if you had a really good car, everyone seemed to find their way to the front, right? So that just tells me the track was good. I mean, if you start deep and you find your way to the front, that means the racing was good. There was a good bottom, a good top. So hats off to the track prep crew. And then, of course, they moved it up to 1. And I know you guys didn't watch the B mains, and they were a debacle. I mean, the B mains were horrible. I mean, literally rubbered up. They had to go out and farm the track, and thank God they did. And they had to move it up to 1. I get it. They didn't want to start at 1, but they did that because they want to get the show on. So hats off to them for that as well. But when the features came out, the first couple features were a little bit sketchy. But when they got into the, into the mods, into the late models, into the supers, they had a really good racetrack. And like you said, Pat Dorr, his 3rd straight fall classic, 4th, I believe, in the late model, and 5th overall because he has one in the modified as well. And then in the modified, unbelievable. We talked about this going into the show last week that it was coming down to the last 2 shows here for the national title. So for those of you that live under a rock, maybe haven't heard, right? Going into the show, Tyler Peterson had a 3-point lead on Shane Sobrasky. If TPO wins that race, points are done, he clinched. If Sobrasky wins, then that would move him into the lead. And if neither one of them won, TPO would maintain the lead coming into the Can-Am Clash. Sobrasky leads all but I don't know,
at 25 meters,
quarter straightaway or whatever. I saw a post that Shane put on Facebook. He's like, this one's going to haunt me. And it is. I mean, realistically, he should have won that race. And, it's kind of one of those deals. It's kind of tough to be hard on Shane Sobrasky, but when you're that good, I mean, people are hard on Patrick Mahomes, right? People are hard on, all them people. So we can be hard on Shane Sobrasky too. It wasn't the decision on the last lap to go to the bottom that lost him that race. It was jumping the cushion coming for the white. He had, 3-4 car lengths or so on Ebert. He jumped the cushion, made just a little bit of a bobble. You can't do that with Dan Ebert behind you. He will capitalize every single time. Ebert closed the gap. He drove underneath them in 1 and 2 to try to take the race lead. Couldn't quite get it. That was inside of Sobrasky's head. And if you remember, about 5-6 laps left, Ebert really tried to throw a death slide in 3 and 4. And then he grabbed the brakes because he knew he wasn't going to clear, and he let Sobrasky go. So Sobrasky's sitting there thinking, okay, he just drove underneath me. If I leave the bottom open, if I go to the top, he's going to slide me. I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm going to throw a block. And you can see it. As soon as he turned left, Ebert turned to the right and drove around him coming off at turn 4. National title implications on the line. Because let's face it, the weather coming up, guys, this weekend, a high on Friday of 48. Okay.
Ooh.
So come race time, it's going to be low 40s, high 30s, and it doesn't look like any rain. So it looks like they're going to get it in. But man, I mean, it's very easy for a racetrack to say, you know what, it's too cold, nobody's coming, we're just going to cancel this deal. He needed that, and I've been there. You don't want that championship coming down to the final night where you have to win, and now he's in that position. That's a tough one. That's a tough pill to swallow. Ebert, of course, he got her done. Sobrasky second. Sobrasky, though, short memory. He went out the super, got it done in the super stock, right? Travis Schultz won the B mod his 2nd year in a row. And then in the street stock over there, Justin Vogel, the Wolverine, he got her done by default. So Nick Traynor, who last year in 2020 won the Little Dream, what was it, 26,000 that he won at Rice Lake. And then he just won the legendary 100. He won the feature, disqualified in tech, illegal carburetor. Now, here's the deal. So what it is, it's a booster height. And if you don't know nothing about carbs, you don't need to know, but there's a booster height. It was over a 1/4 inch. I understand. My sources say it was over a 1/4 inch too high. They said, hey, you're disqualified. In January of this year, there was a press release posted on the Facebook, or not on the Facebook page, but on the WISSOTA website under tech reports, okay? You really got to be looking for it. Like, I've never looked for that until I heard about this, right? And that particular carburetor that he had there was a back order on it. Like, or not a back order, but a recall. Because they were made and they were illegal from factory. Like they were, so it wasn't like an altered with part or he wasn't trying to cheat. It was just like wrong carburetor. So had he seen that press release, he wouldn't have had that carburetor on. Track was bone dry, had nothing to do with him winning. But that leads me to this. Okay, I asked him. I messaged Nick Trainer and I said, "What happened?" He goes, "A rule's a rule." He goes, "I get it." He goes, "It sucks." He goes, "I didn't even realize that carburetor didn't even realize it was an issue." Number one, he races at Rice Lake and he wins a lot of races at Rice Lake. He's ran that same carburetor all year long. Do they not have a tech guy? Like I asked him, I'm like, he's like, I don't know. I mean, they teched it, but evidently they didn't look at it. So then he said, well, only certain tracks have the tool to tech that. So I'm like, so now racetracks don't even have proper tools to do teching. So that's kind of a sticky situation, right? You just get done winning the Legendary, you're winning these races all year long, and your track don't tech it. It's like every track checks carburetors. How do they not catch that, right? The next question I have is this is a question for both of you. You can give me your thoughts on this. When a tech update comes out, okay, WISSOTA has everybody's email address and they have everybody's phone number that's a driver. They have all of them. It would literally take 10 minutes to shoot out an email to everybody that runs that certain part and say, look, here's the tech update. Check your stuff. Make sure you're good. Do you think that they should be proactive in doing that? What do you think?
I mean, as long as they have all the email addresses, yeah, I mean, there's no reason why they can't do that. I mean, use the technology to your advantage. So my opinion would be yes. As long as they have all the email addresses, go ahead and let everybody know.
Yeah, they do have them because they're all on the license form. When you fill out your WISSOTA license, all the emails and phone numbers are on there.
I mean, you could. I mean, I don't know what the license form says, but I mean, you could even put on the license form that updates will be sent via email, and make sure you check your email. And if you are unaware of updates, it's on you because we sent it via email.
Yeah, and it really is it's on the driver anyway because it's out there. I mean, we have the ability to look for it. I mean, it's there, but I look at it, it's like if they have the database, it's a 10-minute deal, boom, hit send, it's done. I don't know. Puka, what's your thoughts?
Well, what's the current protocol, I guess you'd say, for rule updates? Is it just posting it to the WISSOTA website? You're supposed to log in or log on and check every day?
All the dirt and and on the WISSOTA page under tech updates. So that's the two things. So there's a lot of drivers out there that are extremely part-time that the last thing they're thinking about is like, well, I got to check and make sure they're not doing any tech
That's
updates.
what I mean. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of outdated. I mean, that was a great probably in 95 or even 2000, but
right.
I mean, who doesn't have an email address? It's 2022, 90 days away from 2022. I mean,
yeah. So there's my suggestion to WISSOTA, okay, is from now on, create a database, because a database of emails, you can do that for basically free, right? There's free services out there to put everybody's email in. It costs nothing. And once the database is done, when a tech update comes out, just shoot a mass email to everybody in that class saying, here's the tech update. Be proactive on it. I know it don't take much time. We're talking 10 minutes. I'd like to see that. I think that'd be good for the racers instead of that us against you. That's us working with you. I think that'd just be better for everybody. Now, we have a fan question of the week brought to you by Shane Howell, Cowboy Up Racing, who I tell you what, he's my pick to win this weekend at the Can-Am Clash in Superior in the Midwest Mods. He's got a really good hot rod over there. So we've been, particularly me, right? But I've been very critical of the WISSOTA board for a long time, right? It's like they do nothing. And don't get me wrong, there's a couple of them on the board that are a little bit more active, just like any other board. But there's certain people on the board that literally do nothing. I'm talking like they don't even show up to meetings. They do nothing at all, nothing, okay? Now, I was on the board at the Hibbing Raceway, I think, for 3 years over there. I've been involved with some different boards over the number of years, And most of these positions, including the WSOTA board, I think they get a couple $100 a month for expenses or something, whatever, meaningless. I mean, it covers gas, right? So they basically are doing it for free. So you start thinking about it, right? And you're like, okay, Carson's got his paid job, and he's only one person, right? He's the executive director. Callie's got all the office and the clerical stuff. Now you have the 7 people on the board, right? Now, I'm always thinking we need to be proactive. We need to be growing. We need to have a growth mindset. We need to be making this better. We need to get everything. There just needs to be a lot more happening. The question I have, and the question actually came, well, I guess he didn't want me to say his name. So the question came from a fan here. But his question was legit, and I don't know why he didn't want to say his name because it's not controversial. But with the board, everybody knows the board basically does very little to nothing. But why would they, right? Would either one of you two jump on the WSOTA board, put 30, 40, 50 hours of your life in every single week for free?
No. And how do you even get on the board?
You get on the board by going to the annual meeting, and the promoters have to, they basically, it's no different than any other board. They say, I nominate Joe Blow to be on the board, nomination accepted, and then however many they vote on it. Okay. But the fact is, they don't get paid, right? So that's a broken system. The whole system's broken. It's outdated. Trevor Aarons posted this. He goes, is it outdated? Is it an outdated system? He put this on Facebook a while back, and I believe it is, because life has gotten busy. Most people, if you're going to be on a WSOTA board and you're going to put 30, 40, 50 hours a week in for free, you need to either be A, independently wealthy, B, retired with no bills and money coming in so you don't have to worry about job, probably single, right? So that might be good, or just brain dead. One or the other, because why on earth would you put, because it is a thankless job. It really is. I've been on boards, right? Any board is a thankless job because you ain't making everybody happy no matter what. So they need to do one of two things, in my opinion. They either need A, they need to get a couple more employees to help spread out the workload, right? So that way they can be more proactive. Event coordinating for the 100, sponsorship acquisition, social media, and I mean like a huge social media, not just a little here. They're getting a little bit better, but they need to do a whole lot more, right? And just public relations and all this stuff. There needs to be more people that are active. See, back when the WSOTA first started, boards were kind of a big deal, and everybody was a whole lot more active. They didn't have any paid employees. Now they have a couple paid employees, so certain board members sit back and they're like, well, I don't need it. We got employees to do that. So number one, I believe they need to get more employees, but number two, do they even need to have a board? What's the whole purpose of the board anyway?
Well, I think the purpose is more the financial side. Because I think if you're a nonprofit, status as that is, you have to vote and you have to get a quorum, and that's how you keep that nonprofit status. Is I think I'm kind of going, because I've been on boards, I've been a president of a board, and I think that's kind of the way that works, because it's written in your file. I can't remember something with the structure, but anyway, it's written in there kind of how you're going to be organized, and your charter. I think that's the word I'm looking for. I think it's written in your charter, kind of how you're going to be organized, and you have to have such and such board, and that's, I'm assuming, like you're saying, not doing much. I'm sure a lot of what they're doing is the financial stuff to make sure, because what you don't want to do is be on a board and there's financial shenanigans. Then you're really in trouble, because then you're going on a whole different rat hole.
And you've seen that a lot of racetracks. There's a lot of racetracks that have had that problem. They got the same structure and they still have that problem. So you got to have the right people in place, so I don't know what it is. I'm not sure, because they're not very transparent, right? WSOTA's not transparent. I don't know if it's a nonprofit or a not-for-profit, which is kind of got two different structures, right? And they're not real transparent. I've had track promoters, I've asked them, they're like, I don't know, we asked that, we got yelled at. So they're not transparent with some of the stuff. So I don't know. I mean, we're wondering all the time, why isn't WSOTA growing, right? You look at USRA, they got like 800 some modifieds in USRA. WSOTA doesn't even have 300. I think it's around 300. right? Why? Because they don't have a growth mindset. They have the, we're going to do just enough to get by, just enough to keep things rolling mindset, and they're dying. WISSOTA is dying, whether they want to admit it. And I know there's some WISSOTA board members that listen to this show. Some of them like it. Some of them do not like it, right? I don't care, right? But the fact of the matter is, they better understand WISSOTA's dying and some changes need to be made. And maybe just hiring a couple more people to kind of spread that workload out so that they're actively like doing work and getting paid for it instead of like sitting on their hands doing nothing. Maybe that's a start. Maybe that would be a start. What do you guys think? Do you think they need more employees?
Well, before I'll let you go, Bert, I just want to say, please throw your comments in here. This is a good topic. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, to do all the things that you suggest, yeah, they probably need more employees, but I'm sure that they don't have more employees and they go with the board aspect, probably to save money so they don't have to pay employees. But yeah, I mean, you asked the question, would you be willing to work for free? And I would say no, based on the 40 hours a week scenario. I mean, I'm not opposed to donating my time for, some things, but not 40 hours a week. I mean, maybe a couple hours a week or whatever, but, so yes, more employees would be helpful for them, but I'm sure they don't go down that route because it all comes down to finances.
Which all it takes is go and get another sponsor or two, right? Create more revenue to pay more people, right? And that's kind of that's the mindset they're in right now. They're stuck in that, like, well, we don't want to grow. If we have more employees, we got more costs, we got more headache, we got more of this. Well, they're just going to be stagnant, right? And if you're not ripening, you're rotting, right? You're not staying the same. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. And WISSOTA's getting worse. It's fizzling. I mean, you can look at the numbers today compared to 20 years ago. It's fizzling. And to me, now I'm that all in, I'm that all or nothing kind of guy. And sometimes it gets me in trouble, right? It is what it is. But I want somebody running the organization that's got a growth mindset that says, I want to go forward. I don't want somebody going, well, this is kind of where we're at. We don't want to do any more. We don't do any more work. I think if they keep up with that mindset, they just shut the doors and just let the tracks go to a different sanctioned body. Puka?
Well, I mean, that's kind of happening. They are getting swallowed up. Like I said, I don't remember hearing of USRA until about 5-6 years ago. Now you're saying there's 800 mods, and we talked about the traveling stuff on the late models. You got the Tri-State Series, repairable vehicles kind of moving in from the Southwest. You've got the Dirt Kings, the Discount Shop Towels Dirt Kings Tour moving in from the East. And especially this year when they came into Wilmer and Madison with the Tri-State Series, like, holy cow, those are, Madison, all that area, and who knows next year now. But, those are places that had Challenge Series events 7, 8, 10, 15 years ago. And now that ain't happening.
Yeah, and then you got IMCA, right? IMCA swallowing up a lot of tracks too.
I mean, like, I believe USRA, I mean, they allow for different sanctioning cars who race different sanctioning bodies to race with them. And see, I think that's where more racing organizations are going these days. I mean, that's the Discount Shop Towels Dirt King Series. They allow for a bunch of different combinations to race with them. I mean, look at Mississippi Thunder. I mean, a lot of the races they promote are races or sanctioned races that allow a variety of different cars to race against each other, where with WISSOTA, if you don't meet their rules, you can't race with them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So fans, put in the comments what you think. I love the concept of WISSOTA. When it started, I remember what it was like when everybody was on a different playing field. You couldn't go to the neighboring track. You had to change your car. I remember all that. My dad had to do that. But it's you got to grow with the times, right? You have to be able to, when change happens, things progress. And if you're not progressing with the times, you're going to fall short. So some changes need to be made. And, we'd like your thoughts there. So with that said, a little bit of an update, not a huge update on the points because there's only a couple classes coming down to the wire. The final WISSOTA sanctioned event of the 2021 season, the Can-Am Clash coming up this weekend, It'll be the inaugural. I believe it's maybe the 4th or 5th try, but the weather actually looks like it's going to work out for him. A little cold, but it's going to be at the Gondikwa Speedway, Superior, Wisconsin. All 8 WISSOTA classes are going to be there. I know Puka's excited about that, so he's definitely going to be on his way. But the modifieds, it comes down to this. If Shane Sobrasky wins the feature, he wins the championship. If anything else happens, Tyler Peterson is the 2021 WISSOTA Modified National Champion. It's that simple. In the Hornets, okay? Yes, the Hornets. The entry-level class, they have national points in that as well. Matt Dittman led the points. He got disqualified at the 100. Kind of a raw deal from what I understand, and I don't know what the process is if they're trying to go through that, but he kind of had it clinched up, and he got booted, 30-day suspension, okay? But Travis Olofsson, who's a relative to the legendary Alan Olofsson, right? He is now leading the national points. He runs, once in a while at Grand Rapids. He runs at Hibbing. He's from over by Bemidji. 3-point lead on DJ Jarecki, and I think that DJ Jarecki is an Ashland car, I believe. Same situation there. If DJ Jarecki wins, he wins the points. If he doesn't, he doesn't, and Travis Olofsson will be your national champ. So 2 national titles coming down to the wire this weekend, and if you can't be there, which is kind of cold, jump on Dirt Race Central. They have all the.
I want to say now this is one of the advantages because we've talked a little bit this invitational season about ending points at Labor Day and such. Well, this is a situation where, I've never seen TPO race in person. Now I can drive an hour down the road and see them. So there is some benefit to letting that thing ride. And when these point totals are tight, because like I said, I think I brought up, I remember around 2099, Pat Dorr having to go out to the East-West Clash or whatever it was back then. I think he had to race against Gelling. They were neck and neck, or Arment. I think it was Gelling. So every once in a while, it does kick someone in the ass to make them travel a little bit and get to a track he hasn't been to, and which can be really good for fans.
Yeah, TPO's like, I'd be perfectly happy. They just go ahead and cancel that. I'm good. No Shane Sobrasky on the other side. He's like, if they don't get this one in, let's schedule another one, right? So it just depends where you're at. But Bert and I, we talked about this last week. We love the points chase, right? We like that drama at the end. So with national points coming down to the wire, and what do you say we take a look at some national stuff from this past weekend? And I know you guys are late model guys, so we'll start there just for you. But the Lucas Oil, their late model series, they're supposed to have a trio of shows. Smoky Mountain, of course, rained out. Man, Lucas Oil has had a lot of rainouts this year. I never did the numbers on it, but they've had a bunch of them for sure.
Well, and not just rainouts, but they call the races like a day before the race actually takes place.
Right, yeah, torrential downpours. This place, I guess, the Smoky Mountain looked like a swamp, I guess. So
fuel shortage. Remember the fuel shortage?
Yeah, the fuel shortage.
But it's good for the teams. You call it early, they're not on the road, right? That's why they do that, right?
Stay home. Crazy. All kinds of, they just sit home. If they cancel that one, nobody goes anywhere. So they have the Dixie Shootout and the Rome Showdown. What stuck out to you guys from this week's Lucas Oil Dirt late model action?
Well, first off, everything down there just feels late model racing. I love the red and white wall, kind of, just like Batesville there at Dixie. Now let's little history on the Dixie Shootout. This used to be a big race. As you can see, even Bloomquist showed up for it. 2003, 55,000 to the winner, Donnie Moran. It was an extreme race back then. The Dixie Shootout used to be a big one. Wow. Back in 93, Bloomer won it, $28,500 back in 93. So this used to be a big race. I think it was around 2010, or actually shortly after the Moran win. I think the purse started sliding 30, 25, 20. It was 15,000 for a handful of years, and now what? I think it was a 10, wasn't it?
10 or 12, yeah.
10 or 12, yeah. So it's not the event that it used to be, but where else? Think about it. You're in Woodstock, Georgia, and think about your Georgia drivers: JD, Overton, Air Force, Ashton Winger. There's great racers that come out of Georgia. And it just feels like that. I think this swing should happen twice a year going through Georgia myself, but I know Golden Isle, takes a lot of their shine away there in the spring with a lot of shows. But what stuck out to me, like I said, the pit's in the middle, very south. It's just, just like Cherokee's, pit's still in the middle. Like I said, no Air Force in attendance, which surprises me, Ashton Winger, but like I said, Bloomquist did show. Owens led some laps on Saturday. Like I said, he's getting better, he just can't seem to squeeze that win in. And then I know you guys want to talk about JD because he's heating up again.
Bert?
Is pits in the inside of the track? Is that a Southern thing?
Well, it seems like more tracks are moving away from it, don't you think?
But I was just gonna. Are you calling Shawano Speedway Southern?
Yeah, kind of.
But it just feels so. Even that one they raced down, that crate race down there, that Joyner one, the pits were in the middle. It just, I don't know. They're just something simple. Even the Saturday night race there in Rome, it looks like most of the grandstand they were standing the whole time. There's just something different about, well, Ryan, you've told us, watching races in the South, drink in the pits, can't drink in the stands, just stuff like that. Not that it's backward, it's just different. It's just the way they've done it. And like I said, that red and white wall, I just love that. And that red clay down in Georgia, it just, like I said, I think Lucas, or maybe Lucas and Wu, should each do a swing down there. Maybe it's just nostalgic. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for.
That's kind of like watching the movie Six Pack, right? It kind of brings you back in time a little bit. I actually watched that this week because I'm like, man, we're talking Dixie. I gotta watch good old Six Pack. So, I kind of like the pits in the middle. Let me be clear on this. If the grandstands is good enough, right? If the grandstands is low, you can't see the back. You can't see nothing. But if they have the facility built in such a manner that the grandstands are up high, even that bottom row is up high, I like the atmosphere of the pits in the middle as long as you can see the whole racetrack. I like that. I think it brings me back to my childhood when you could kind of watch the crews down there and you see a little scuffle going on and people are yelling at each other. You can see all that stuff, right? There's just more going on. And when they're in the back, it almost seems like the cars are inaccessible to you, right? Like, I remember, it brings us back to Labor Day Shootouts, Puka. How many times, right? The Labor Day Shootout got done, the late model features done, the late model winners on the track, the mods and supers pull out on the track, the winners. Then they open the gate and everybody's down on the racetrack and they're with their driver, and then they walk down to the infield. Well, it's not like that anymore because it's a long walk around the back, so you don't get that same mystique, I guess. So it just depends. I mean, Hibbing's not a big track. I mean, it's a big quarter-mile, small 3/8. I mean, you couldn't put a bunch of haulers in the infield in Hibbing. You simply could not do it. But it's kind of a cool look. And they also may or may not have some Confederate flags flying down there. So the war's not over in the South. I mean, they get a little bit rowdy down there. But you mentioned JD doubling up on the week. He kind of, not that he's been off, but he was a little bit off. He didn't really have great numbers. In fact, I think I had him in my not hot coming in because he had like 2 podiums in like the last 10, 12 shows. One of them, of course, was a win over at Eldora. So that kind of makes up for a few things. But then it's like, man, where'd he come from? 2 wins down there. Of course, Overton was right there. I couldn't have been happier to see JD win last night at Rome, holding off Overton. That was fantastic. Simply because
I would have liked to have seen Overton win.
So I was super happy with that. But another guy over in Dixie, we've been talking about him a little bit here as of late, Earl Pearson Jr., another top 5 DNF at Rome, but another top 5 for the Hurricane. That was good to see. And what's your guys' thoughts on this whole? If you saw the first night, right, they literally go down the back straightaway, they come into 3, they come out of turn 4, they're coming for the checker, they drop the yellow flag.
Yes.
What is that? Like, the race is just throw the checker, the race is over, everybody took the white. What are they doing? And then they don't even go green, white, checker, they go green, checker. It's like, what a waste of time. Does that make any sense to you? Should they just ixnay that whole deal and go checker? What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I was watching that, and the leader was coming out of 4, was almost to the flag stand, and all of a sudden the yellow came out, and it's like, really? And I mean, I guess I understand because Owens was stopped entering turn 1, so you don't want everybody barreling down the front stretch trying to get to the flag stand if they're still battling for position. But yeah, at that point, just throw the checkered flag and throw the checkered and the yellow at the same time and just let the race be over, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe that's what you got to do is just, I mean, I understand why they did. Even JD made a comment in his post-race interview, like, I don't know what they're doing there. And then, like he said, same thing, just a 1-lap shootout. But, I guess it's a safety thing. Maybe it's the insurance call. Maybe if the insurance says if this, if there's anything on the on the track, you got to wave the caution, no ifs, ands, or buts, or we're not covering you.
Yeah, and each track has their own insurance, but you'd think that if everybody or a certain amount of people took the white, you just drop the checker, the race is over. Nobody likes ending that way. I mean, but I guess I don't understand why they do one lap, right? Why not go, if you're going to throw the yellow, go green, white checker? Where did this whole green checker deal even come from? I've never even seen such a thing until some recent Lucas stuff. That just makes no sense to me. Go green, white checker, right? Because that way you at least have a little bit more excitement for the fans. But it kind of leads me to this. I mean, how many JD fans do you suppose were like, he's coming for the checkered, and they're like, woo, knuckling, they're all pumped, right? It's kind of like the kicker for the Cincinnati Bengals, right? I mean, you're talking about donkey award. I know Puka's not a big football guy, but did you see that?
I saw, yeah.
Good grief. Like, the guy kicks the field goal. If you guys haven't seen it, if you're watching and haven't seen it, the Bengals were playing the Packers this weekend, and they're trying to figure out which kicker was worse, because I think they might have set a record for most consecutive missed field goals in a game. It was a debacle. But in overtime, the Bengals kicker kicks a field goal, and he literally misses it hit the flag on the outside of the bar. He's jumping up and down. He jumps in his lineman's arms. He's all pumped, and he's like, woo, yeah, we won. And they're like, I missed? What do you mean I missed? It's like, donkey award for the dumbest celebration, non-racing, that I've seen in a long time right there. That was good, but I'm thinking there might have been some JD fans doing the same thing, that premature celebration deal. So T-Mac, congratulations to him. His first ever Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series championship. So he's been at it for a while. He's been close a couple times, but just a model of consistency, right? He's not flashy. He's not that high side hustler. But he's that guy. You know who he reminds me of, Puka? John Canta, right?
Yeah.
He never, Canta's not quite as fast as he was when he was really on top of his game, but he's never looked really fast. But I can't tell you how many times it's like, where the hell did 85 come from? And he's there at the end all the time. And that's what T-Mac reminds me of.
So I got one, and probably a guy like Troy Powers will be the only one who knows, because I don't know. I'm just thinking of it now. Scott Bloomquist, T-Mac have won both the Lucas Series and the World of Outlaws Series. Is there anyone else? Maybe Don O'Neill? I don't know. So any of you late model historians, please comment if you know, is there any other driver that's been able to capture both major series? Because Moyer certainly didn't. He never really followed that Lucas. So anyway, because you think of some of those Lucas, I mean, Bloomquist dominated for a while. Owens dominated for a while. Bert, you got any ideas?
None that I can think of off the top of my head, other than those
Not
two.
everyone's like Ryan Ayo can win a Wazota championship and a DTRA and in the same season. Not everyone's like Ryan Ayo.
I mean, that's a step up from World of Outlaw and Lucas. I mean, it really is. I mean, we'll have to check into that. We'll have to pull up the past champions of that. That's interesting. I guess I didn't even realize that he won a World of Outlaw championship.
Yeah,
so that's an accomplishment for him. So really cool. Now my favorite race of the weekend, if there's something that stuck out to me, the one I was looking forward to most, Falls Frenzy at Fairbury. It's Falls, baby, on a Saturday night. 42, I think, cars they had over there. And Bert, why don't you start there? I know you had a Eastern Wisconsin guy representing a little bit down there.
Actually, a couple, because Taylor Scheffler was racing down there. I believe he made the feature. And then Mike Mullen out in his brand new late model. I believe this was the first time he raced this late model. Made the trip down there. He won his B feature, and then he pulled off once the leaders caught him in the feature, and he didn't want to get in anybody's way and stuff. But it's good to see him in a late model. Hopefully next year we'll see him in a late model a lot more. Hint, hint. And but yeah, I mean, I think this was the most exciting late model race of the weekend that I watched. It seems like Falls never disappoints. It's always, top side, low side, and fun to watch. And I mean, Gundaker was leading early, and he would not get off the bottom though. I'm watching. It's just like, get off the bottom. You're gonna get past. And sure enough, he got past. But I mean, Heckenest had a better car than Gundaker did. So I mean, Heckenest had the best car, I think, and it was good to see him get a win. He doesn't win a lot, so when he does win, it's good for the little guys to get wins.
And second place was something we may or may not see a whole lot more of next year, was the B5, right? Rumor has it that he might not be in Rocket 1 next year. So Brandon Shepard got second. Of course, G Squared got third. Puka, anything stick out to you over at Falls?
Well, where was Bobby Pierce? I guess then I ended up hearing he was at a Bears game. Is that what you guys?
Gatlinburg. I saw pictures on Facebook that they went on a little couples vacation. Him and his better half and another couple. There was pictures they were over at Gatlinburg on vacation.
They were at a Bears game the previous Sunday.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay. Well, Thanks a lot, Pierce. I picked you. It's Falls. It's Bobby Pierce. He doesn't show up, so that was real. Yeah,
me too.
Good for me.
Well, I did look at his schedule ahead of time, and he did not have it on his schedule. But I thought he's got a race there. I mean, he's that close to it. He's got a race there. So sorry to interrupt you, Puka.
No, that's fine. Do you think that'd be one? On the schedule, like day one. Like in January, that'll be one. But debris on the track, they do a little bit of the opposite of what Lucas does. They had some debris on the track. They just let it go. That announcer could be a little too much for me. Hashtag Falls. I mean, I think he does a good job. I don't know if it's his voice, but I watched the second half of the race on mute. He just a little too much for me. Now I got to bring this guy.
I like him.
Yeah, well, I mean, he does a good job. I don't know what it is. It's cadence or something, but he gets to be a little too much for me. But our favorite Michigan driver out of White Pigeon, Michigan, I know you saw him. I got to bring him up. Chris Nash, number 354, our buddy from Eldora. I believe it was time trials. There he was. Parks are again. Bill Steen's getting more advertising out of Chris Nash than anybody, and I found out it's a Schwartz car. I don't know if I should be bringing this up, Charlie, but it is a Schwartz car. So, congrats, Chris Nash, for getting in there at Falls. And like you said, Frankie with the big win, put together a pretty nice season. Now, remember when he came up to our area, win in Jackson, win at Fergus at the I-94, and now this big win down here at hashtag Falls. So congratulations. Like I said, pretty good year for Frankie. What do you got?
Absolutely. And we all picked Pierce, right? But then Bert also picked Shannon Babb, who also got saved by the rain. But there's a guy, right, the Moequa Missile, that's always extremely fast, and he was sick. Now, I don't know what it was. I'm speculating. Maybe it was COVID. Maybe it was something else. I'm not sure. I don't know what it was. But I was really shocked to see, due to sickness, not going to be able to make it to Falls. I'm assuming here that maybe it was COVID related. I don't know that for sure. But that's a guy right there. I was kind of disappointed not to see him there because he always puts on a hell of a show. But, yeah, you're right. Heckenast has been really, really good. And kind of since that swing up north, that's kind of when he started to take off, and he's put together some nice shows. So any closing thoughts on Fairbury?
Not other than it never disappoints, and it's always a must-watch race.
And just, for all you other tracks that are filming, like Hibbing would have a good thing with that garage that they have on the backstretch there. But, they film so you can see, the flag stand. They film from the backstretch, which is very unique in auto racing. And then you see them as they come across the line. But, yeah, Falls is Falls, in the middle of nowhere. If you look on the map, it is literally in the middle of nowhere. And incidentally, Woodstock and Rome down there, I wanted to look them up. They're maybe a little more than Hibbing Rapids. They're both north of Atlanta. They're not that far from each other either. So they must be I don't want to say in the South they even race on Saturday because of college football. Maybe they're Friday, Sunday. Maybe they're Saturday, Sunday. Maybe they're Friday, Saturday. But if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say Friday, Sunday. They don't race on Saturdays. That's college football day down there. It's SEC territory.
Yeah, SEC got their asses kicked this week, by the way. So if you're a college football fan, they got smoked. So let's talk a little World of Outlaw sprint car action. They had a pair of shows this past weekend over at Port Royal. And I know you guys got to watch the features there. What stuck out to you in the sprint car world?
Well, I am wondering if Brad Sweet is getting a little nervous at this point. The point lead is down to 92 points now, with only, I don't know, there's 5 or 6 races left, I think. I still think that it's a lot of points to make up in that number of races, but Sweet has not looked good he's had some bad luck, but the first race this last week, he started in the front, and by the end of the race, he was running 14th, and I don't think he had any tire issues or anything. He just went backwards, and you don't see that too often.
No, he got 14th and 12th on the last two shows, and David Gravel got 6th and 2nd. So he narrowed up that margin, and I'm telling you, it could get awfully interesting over the next couple of weeks rolling into the World Finals. You're exactly right. Schultz actually ran good. He actually, I don't know, what did he get, 4th and a 3rd? So he constantly up in the top 5. He's been solid ever since about the midway point of the season. He's been impressive. Puka, what else stuck out to you over in Port Royal?
Yeah, 92-point swing now between Gravel and Sweet is what I heard today. But here's a question for you guys and for you fans. When's the last time? Now, we're going to exclude Kyle Larson, because Kyle Larson wanted to be a World of Outlaw regular. He would be. But when's the last time they raced 2 nights in a row and an Outlaw didn't win for 2 nights? I mean, it's not uncommon for someone to pop a win in there, but it was 2 nights in a row with, Kerry Madsen getting it done, and then the Spencer Beaston. How impressive was he? Badass fast.
Yeah, he's a young gun that he actually won one earlier this year, and he's talented. Somebody said, is he going to run a full World of Outlaw schedule next year? Somebody's saying that. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah. Whose ride? Is he in the ride? He might be in the Casey Kane ride next year, or is it the team that he's currently? Might be, maybe, the team he's with might be the old Kerry Madsen ride, because Madsen was running and then was released. It might be his old team. Maybe that's what it is. We'll have to pick up on that. Well, we'll know. There'll be some announcements and stuff coming during silly season, but I believe he is going to be making the run next year.
Yeah, so Madsen won night 1, Baston won night 2. Now, a guy that got 2nd on night 1 come from a little bit deep in the field, Lance Deweese. He got 2nd, got inside of him about a car length at the line there. How good is this guy? It seems like every time they're in Pennsylvania posse territory, like he's in the conversation. How good is Lance Deweese?
I don't know much about him, but yeah, I mean, you do hear his name a lot when the Outlaws go up there and there's big shows. So, like I said, I don't know a lot about him, but he seems to be the real deal.
He's an old dog. He's an old guy.
Oh, is he? Did he win one earlier this year?
I don't think. Well, he's won races, not World of Outlaw though.
Not World of Outlaw. So is the Pennsylvania posse still winless against the Outlaws now for the last few years?
Did Brent Marks win one?
There you go. Okay, somebody snuck. That's who it was. Okay, because I knew somebody snagged one a few weeks back. Okay, it wasn't Deweese. It was Marks.
It was Marks, and Deweese is always there. I'm telling you, he's really, really good. Williams Grove, he's good at too. There's a guy to keep an eye on. Don't know how many more years he's got in him, but he's a guy that is so good around the bottom of the racetrack. I mean, he's really, really good. Every time I see him marching forward, he's not that high. He's not Sheldon Hodenschild, right? He's the guy on the bottom running, and he's so smooth. He gets around it good, and man, if he ran a World of Outlaw schedule, I think he'd win some races. So pretty interesting there. So what do you say we get into some
Before we move on, I just want to say the bad luck award for the 2 Outlaw races happened the first night with Schuhart. Did you see what happened to him? He's running second, battling for the lead, and a car from the back of the pack spins in 3 and 4, and Schuhart tried to go between the car and the guardrail, and that just shows you how fragile those suspension parts are. Just nicked them. But, it was enough to break the suspension in the front, and he had to pull out. I don't know if he got back out into the race or not.
My pick. My pick. I was pouting. I'm going to pout about my pick. So that's what happens to Schuhart. Pierce doesn't show up at Falls. The 76 of Overton has 500 restarts to get by JD and can't even touch him. Can't even sniff him. Macedo, I pick him. He's like the worst weekend he's had in the whole year. And then Bishop starts on the front row and doesn't win. If lightning strikes tonight, it's going to strike me. That's where my luck is right now.
Well, Puka, you just keep on picking the guys that. So let me ask you this: who are you picking, Sobrasky or TPO?
They're all begging you not
Maybe
to
I
pick
shouldn't
them.
say, huh?
that way, if one of them don't win, we're going to say it was all Puka. It was all Puka. So let's get into some who's not or who's hot and who's not. Puka, brought to you by
Yeah, our friends over at Blue Line Brews. We've talked about them in the past. Official drink of the One to Go show. It's your chance to back the brew. Remember now, the mugs have shipped. You'd have to check their Facebook page, but they're pretty cool mugs. You have the right to remain caffeinated. Like I said, we showed you some of the brews here. The stakeout and the detective special. Justice is coming to be a little bit of a lighter brew. They're going through the donation process right now. We give 10% of the profits back to fallen or injured officers, men and women of blue, to their families. So you can go to the Blue Line Brews Facebook page to kind of keep track of all that. And then, like I said, K-Cups they're still working on. We're all, I think, pretty aware of right now the supply shortage or, the kind of the, what do you call supply chain and everything that's going on there. So they're getting a little bit held up on the K-Cups. But I think most people use K-Cups these days. I know my family sure does. So just stay on their Facebook page. If you want to order and help out the One to Go show and Back the Blue at the same time, bluelinebrews.com. Type it in or just scroll down to the show notes there and I'll click you right over.
All right, Bert, who's hot?
You got to go Superman. 2 big wins over the last week, so can't go wrong there. I'm going to keep Overton on the list. He didn't get any victories, but he was second. So still added money to the bank account in his quest for $1 million. And got to go T-Mac winning securing the championship. And I mean, it's not like he just started and was in the back. I mean, he was racing up front in those races. So, and he clinched the championship. So he's on my list also.
Awesome. Puka.
Yeah, let's go with Pat Dorr with that 3 in a row. Now, I believe Pat Dorr's been back in a rocket car. This is his 3rd year. Going back to the red. I think 2019 when Demo just got past him at the Challenge Series. They're up at the Classic in Grand Rapids to win that. Because when he ran that Capital car, he was, pretty up and down. I actually thought Pat Dorr's better days were over. Then now that he got in that rocket, he's really had a rocket of a year, especially here in 2021. So congrats to him. Got to keep Shane Sobrasky on the list. Big win in the Super. And did I see Ryan Michelson winning in a limited late model?
Yep, he did. He won the limited late model feature at the Fall Classic. And yeah, he's really put together a season too.
Yeah, and then 2 in a row for him. So he's on the hot list. Hopefully he'll make it up to Godniklaw Speedway this weekend.
Yeah, I guess I should text him and find out. I don't know if he's been up there or not before. It'd be kind of cool to see him up there. So I have Dan Ebert. Man, he ran mostly the USMTS stuff, but we're talking about TPO and Shane Sobrasky. Both of those two should be really happy that Dan Ebert did not follow Wasota Modified Racing this year because he has been utterly dominant. He won the Gerke Memorial. He won 3 of 4 RV races that he was in. He won the Wasota 100, and now he just had a last lap pass on a national point contender to win the Fall Classic. Ebert has been, when he unloads in Wasota country, he has been really, really good. In the Super Stocks, I got Shane Sobrasky. So Sobrasky, in his last 15 races, 14 podiums, 10 wins, including the Fall Classic, the Piston Cup at Granite City. He got 6th at the Red Clay, but started deep. He did win the mods. Won the Bemidji Stampede both nights. He won the Wasota 100 and the prelim. He got a 1st and a 2nd at the Northern Nationals. He won the Labor Day Shootout. He has been utterly dominant in the Super Stocks. And I think out of he's got darn near 60 shows. He's only got 6 off the podium all year long.
Really?
Impressive. Yeah, he's been unbelievable. So I had Dorr on there, but you covered him. But I'm going to go with Dustin Sorensen, one of the young guns down southern Minnesota, USRA mod. He runs some late model stuff too. 5 straight feature wins in his USRA mod. He won both nights of the Great Pumpkin Race at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway. And then this past weekend, he swept the weekend down in Wheatland at Lucas Oil Speedway at the USRA Nationals. He won all 3 nights with a stacked field of modifieds down there. He was the class of the field. So Dustin Sorensen, he's getting after it. So who's not, Bert?
Who is not? I'm going to put Brad Sweet at the top of this list because he has gone quite a few races without performing well. So he's at the top of the list. I'm going to put Bobby Pierce on there for Skipping Falls. Track right in his backyard. He always runs well there, and he skipped it. So I'm putting him on the list. And Third is going to be Mother Nature, because not only was a Lucas race rained out last week, but last week was supposed to be a Flow midweek race also, and that got canceled due to weather. So Mother Nature hasn't always looked down kindly on racing this summer.
And night one of Falls was rained out too, right? So
Correct.
do we put on the not hot list? Do we put Bobby Pierce, or do we blame his girlfriend, or is he married? Is he married? I'm not sure if he's married.
I don't think he's married.
Yeah, maybe we blame his other half, because I'm thinking he wanted to go to Falls and discretion was a better part of valor, and he probably said if mom is happy, everybody's happy. So
sometimes you got to do that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if I agree, but yeah, we'll go.
He made the right move. He made the right call on Friday night anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. So, Puka, who do you got? Who's not?
Well, I've got this guy, and after the invite season he had last year, I guess I'm just, kind of going off the whole invite season, would be Jesse Glenn's. Incidentally, did you see the car for sale on the internet or interwebs this weekend? But yeah, Jesse Glenn, just a pretty cool invite season all the way around. Like I said, Carson Macedo, I talked about him earlier, one of my picks, third in the world of outlaw sprint car points, but just terribly cold this weekend, a 21st and a 15th. And then we mentioned Brad Sweet, lost points to Macedo again. I still think he's going to be your champ for third year in a row, but cold as ice out east this weekend. How about you, Ryan?
I think all of us got Brad Sweet on there, because he's been just not looking like he's, when you win the championship, you want to put an emphasis on it at the end of the year. And it's just like he got a good start, and he just has not looked real good over the last, month and a half or so. I also have Jesse Glenn's on here, incidentally. Second at the silver, and I'm like, man, it's going to be his invite season, because he looked good. Then he got a 7th in a DNF at Hibbing. Then he took 2 weeks off. Right? He didn't go to the Northern Nationals or the sites. He didn't go to the Legendary or the Wissota 100. He went to Knoxville to watch. And then he did get 5th at the Punky, 9th at the Red Clay, got a DNF at Ogilvie. Just not what I would have expected either from Jesse Glenn. Incidentally, his season is done. He's not going to go to the Can-Am Clash, from what I understand. Now, Jody Belfi, I got him on there. He's like Jekyll and Hyde. Right? I don't understand it. He ran, I think he was on the podium on Labor Day, and then he went to the Northern Nationals. He got a first up there. He won the Northern Nationals one night, and then he went to at the 100. He just it wasn't his type of track. They farmed it. He pulled off. He got a DNF at the Punky. That wasn't his deal. He went to the Red Clay, and he had a shot to beat Sobrasky. He got second. Then he goes to the Fall Classic, and he was my pick in Ogilvie, and he got 11th. Jody, you're killing me, man. Like I'm not picking him for this weekend, because I'd like to see him win. But man, I expected way more from him at Ogilvie. I was really surprised with that 11th place finish. And then I have USRA, right? I've got a lot of tracks, a lot of promoters. Not going to mention any names, but Wissota board. If you're listening, yes, there are Wissota promoters talking about going to USRA. Okay. But I'm gonna say what, they dropped the ball. They had the USRA Nationals. It was after 2:00 in the morning, all 3 nights. It was like 2:45 one night, 2:38 another night. You can't have that, right? They start at 6:00. That's over 8 hours of race. What are they doing? It's not like they had 900 cars like Boone, right? They had around 300 cars. Unbelievable. They should be embarrassed, right, to have an 8-hour race program at the marquee event. And I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at any of it. It was on Race and Dirt. The grandstands at the Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland were flat empty. There was nobody there. I'm talking even like when it was normal people's hours, like 8, 9 o'clock at night, right? It was empty. There was no fans. I'm like, what in the world? So I don't know what the heck the deal was there. And I get it. That's, they sponsored the event. I get it, all that. But I don't know. I get their growth, and they got a lot of cars, and they've got a lot of growth in the region. But I tell you what, I went to the Wissota 100 this year, and I watched the USRA Nationals, and I'd give the Wissota 100 a higher grade than I'd give the USRA Nationals. I can promise you that. So,
well, that's tough. Maybe that's why there are no fans. Maybe it was the same way last year or the year before or the year before.
I didn't pay any attention, but I will say Minnesota represent Dustin Sorensen, 3 wins in the mod. So that was really good to see at least a Minnesota guy. I'm guessing he's probably a Vikings fan, unlike Bert. Good to see him get victory lane there. So our picks here from last week. We all sucked. Let's just be honest. Bert, Puka, and Keith, you all had Pat Doer. You all got 1 point, and I'm a little disappointed in that because Bert is now tied with me for the lead. So I was cheering pretty darn hard for JD to hold off Overton, by the way. And yeah, so we have
and I picked Sobrasky. So I mean, if he would have held on there, that would have been another one for me.
Yeah, and if the queen had balls, she'd be the king. And I get it. It woulda, coulda, shoulda. Thanks, Ebert. Dan Ebert, tip of the cap to you for keeping me tied for the lead. Congratulations. But yeah, we're both at 28. Jeff's at 20. Pete and Puka are both at 16, and then Keith is kind of back there sucking hind tit, and he's at 13. So this week's picks, right? We're picking the Castrol Flow Racing Night in America, which is tonight, incidentally, at the 411. And we're going to pick the finale on Saturday, the Dirt Track World Championships. And then we have the modified and late model feature we're picking at the Can-Am Clash, the final Wasota race of the year. So 4 picks this weekend, but the lock of the week, our sure bet, 1 pick for all the marbles. Bert, who's your sure bet of the week?
Sure bet of the week is Superman at the Dirt Track World Championship.
Ooh. Well, I'm going with B-Shep. He let me down this week and start in the front row, but I want B-Shep to bag his 5th title at the 41st Annual General Tire Dirt Track World Championship presented by Optima Batteries. Did I do a good Michael Waltrip?
You did. You did. Now, here's how sure we are of our picks. All 3 of us, our lock of the week is at the same race, and we have 3 different picks. I'm going with big, sexy Brandon Overton. He's gonna inch his way closer by $100,000 to that million mark. So there you have it. Dirt Track World Championships this weekend, biggest Lucas Oil race of the year, the finale. Bert has JD, Puka has B-Shep, I have Brandon Overton. I guess we'll find out soon enough. So the last lap, let's take a look at it here. Yeah, we're into the last lap. Brought to you by Zuli's Race Engines. Frank Zuli, of course, puts together a great piece. The winner of the 18th annual Minnesota Truck Headquarters Viking, or I should say, it's not Viking anymore. It used to be Viking
Right.
Classic.
That's right.
Ogilvy Fall Classic. But the Wolverine, Justin Vogel, got a pile of wins. He's won some big races at the end of the year. Tip of the cap. Congratulations, Vogel. And this is the time of year. Okay, there's 2 races left. One was Soda. You got the Can-Am Clash, and then, of course, the week after, you got the Topless, right? Non-sanctioned deal. Then racing season's done. So drivers, get your engines out of your car. Get a hold of Frank. Get your stuff over to him. Get on the schedule. Get on the calendar. This is a time of year to, get your stuff freshened for the 2022 season. You don't want to wait till March. You don't want to do that because, you hear all these people complaining at the beginning of the year. Man, my engine builder didn't get my engine to me. Well, you didn't bring your engine to him until March, right? So, what do you expect? And racers are all last minute. I was one. I get it. But this is a time of year that engine builders want to be doing stuff so they can be ahead of the 8 ball. Get your stuff to them. And if you need a brand new engine, get a hold of him. He can help you out there as well. So speaking of Brandon Overton, okay, I know you got the numbers in front of you. We're kind of keeping track on his quest to $1 million, right? We're going to see. I mean, it'd be really interesting to see if he can eclipse that $1 million in earnings. What's he at right now, Puka?
808,000, according to our expert Goose, who's been keeping track. He's the one that did the research.
All right, Maverick. So with that said, got a couple races coming up here. Dirt Track World Championship for $100K. Of course, he raced the first 2 XR races. So his potential earnings at Vegas, if he wins that deal in Vegas, I guess that would be what is that race called?
Duel in the Desert? No,
Yeah.
not Duel. Is it Duel in the Desert? No,
Yeah,
that's
That's
Oh yeah,
it's a-
yeah, totally
yeah,
has it. Yeah.
Yep.
Out West Shootout. Yeah.
yeah, $100,000 to win that. And then did you see there's a race down in Sonoya too in November? $52,000 to win down there too. So
No, I
there's
didn't.
yeah, there's a $52,000 to win race down in Sonoya. I was looking at somebody's schedule online, and I'm like, wait a second, what's this one? I assume he's going to be at that. That's kind of his neck of the woods. So if he wins one of those, he has a legit chance because there's a lot of 10, 15, 20 grand to win stuff. But he could potentially win. I mean, is it fair to say that he could win two of the three or all three potentially?
Oh, for sure. I took
Oh,
the
yeah.
under, but yeah, in addition to this, you've got, the dirt track or the world finals. Like I said, the Gateway. You got the race that the Joiners are putting on. What was that one? 20 or 25 there in Northern Florida?
5, I think it was. Yeah.
And when does that Extreme Series start? Does that start in this
Yeah,
in
there's
2021 yet?
December, yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, there's definitely enough racing going on. It could happen. He's over 800,000 now. Out of these three races, Dirt Track World Championship, Vegas, and Sonoya, over and under on him winning 2 of 3.
I shouldn't, but I'm going to go the over. Vegas, I think it's going to be a weak field. It's a long pull. You're not a lot of, you're not pulling a lot of locals, or if you pull a lot of locals, they're not super late model guys. And Sonoya's in his backyard.
Bert?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Puka on that with the same reasoning. I don't think a lot of drivers are going to pull to Vegas, and Sonoya's in his backyard.
So I just want to clarify this. Both of you guys took the under on him hitting $1 million. And
That's why I said
I took the over.
But I didn't know about this Sonoya race either. I didn't know there was another 50.
It's nice to see you guys coming around and agreeing with me. I'm appreciative of that. I think that's pretty cool. So speaking of the XR race out in Vegas, they announced, right, Barry Braun from up in Silver Bay, he announced they're putting together in 2022 the XR Dirt Late Model Series, and I have it here in front of me. But what's your guys' overall thoughts on that announcement? And here, I'll just kind of break it down. So the XR deal, it's going to start with an 8-race deal at Bristol, March 23rd to April 2nd, $25,000 to win every single night. May 13th and 14th, the Colossal 100 in Charlotte, $25,000 to win day 1, $50,000 to win day 2. June 10th and 11th on the Belleville High Banks, $25,000 day 1, $50,000 day 2. July 10th to 13th, a 4-day swing over in Stewart, Iowa, $25,000 to win each night. September 23rd, 24th at Texas Motor Speedway, $25,000 and $50,000. And then November 11th and 12th in Vegas, $25,000 and $50,000 with the potential. They got a deal in there where if you race certain races that you can actually double your earnings wherever you finish. So that could be $100,000 to win that final one as well. So with that said, your guys' initial thoughts of the announcement, the series, impact on dirt late model racing. Bert, let's go ahead and start with you.
Well, my initial thoughts were that's a lot of money that they're throwing around, and it's interesting to see where all that money's coming from, considering all the other big races that are going on around the country. But then my other thought was, at least as of now, they scheduled against the Dream, right? It was the Dream that they scheduled against.
Well,
and
just to clarify on that, so that first deal in Bristol, right, is against 2 weekends for the WOO. So Cherokee, 25th and 26th of March is World of Outlaws, and then Farmer City, April 1st and 2nd. So that's 4 World of Outlaw races that they're scheduled against. And yes, they schedule against the Dream, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. And then, of course, the Hell Tour, right? They schedule against the Hell Tour as well. So,
I mean, yeah. I did see a post on Facebook stating that something of things aren't set yet. I think that date for against the Dream may change. But the fact that they scheduled against it in the first place, that I don't think that was a coincidence, or we didn't know that was the date for the Dream. I mean this year they scheduled against Knoxville, so I mean they know when the races are, and you know,
How'd that work out for him, by the way?
not very well.
Just say
Well, we don't know.
No, I know.
No,
And
we don't know.
I mean, it's great opportunities for drivers to make some money. I don't like scheduling against crown jewels like the Dream. I know some people will say, well, the Dream's not a crown jewel. The Dream is different than the World. If you schedule against the World, then that's bad. But if you schedule against the Dream, that's not that big of a deal. And I tend to disagree with that. I mean, this is just my personal opinion. To me, it seems like they're coming in and throwing all this money around, trying to be a crown jewel without putting in the time. Putting in the dues to get to a crown jewel status.
Yeah, how do we unpackage all this? This is just, it is kind of crazy. And please comment, race fans, racers. This is especially late model diehards, this is a touchy subject. So let me start by saying, I hope it's not a flash in the pan deal. If I'm taking the over under, I'm saying, well, I shouldn't say. Initially, I would say I would take the over that it is a flash in the pan deal. But just like you were saying about Texas, we just don't know how much he's making on the streaming. This is obviously a streaming deal. If you look at what he's doing in Stuart, Iowa, it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, so nobody else is racing. Can you get the streaming? Even Bristol, I bet you the Bristol streaming numbers are off the chart. Not necessarily us watching, but when you have 500 IMCA cars there, mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, co-worker, they're tuning in. So when you get that many cars, the money in Bristol, like I said, go ahead.
You got to understand, though, it's not pay-per-view, right? It's a monthly subscription. So literally, he doesn't, if they already have a subscription because they want to watch a race for that given month, him adding more races on top of that, yeah, he's going to get some more viewers, of course, because I'm not driving to Bristol. I'm not driving to, I'll probably watch these races. We'll have XR because of it. But the fact is, if it was pay-per-view, I think there'd be a lot more revenue potential there versus the monthly subscription.
Yeah, maybe he's got an ad package that he's coming up, or maybe he will change that to maybe more event driven, and you're going to pay per night. I mean, that Belleville, Kansas, that looks like sprint car territory. That could be pretty tough. I mean, you send late models to Knoxville. You see what the Knoxville Sprint Car Nationals do versus the Knoxville Late Model Nationals. I know even in a track like Q6 and stuff like that. So like I said, throwing around a ton of money in Bristol, it's great for the drivers. And then my concern is, the Las Vegas stuff makes sense because they're coming right off the Wild West Shootout and you go out there. But this Fever Heat that runs in Iowa, now that runs up on the same dates that the World of Outlaw Late Models have been coming up to our neck of the woods, to Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. It's 10th through the 13th. Well, if it's 10th through the 13th, that falls, in years past, right, with Superior's Tuesday, World of Outlaw Late Model date. And then they are off on Wednesday. So then you could go up to, meet them up in Grand Forks that Friday. But, how will that affect it? Guys are up there for 4 days. They're going to say, I've had enough. I'm not going to go any further north. I'm going back south, or I'm just going to head straight west, because right after that, all of that is everything that goes in an I-80. And we saw I-80 started last year, on a Tuesday? Mm-hmm. So, it's going to be interesting. But I said, good for the drivers, like Bert said. Go ahead.
Other than the Dream, the only races they're scheduled against are outlaw races. Have they scheduled against
the full schedules for the World of Outlaw and Lucas? Ain't complete yet.
Okay. Oh, that's true. Because I just thought of this. We've discussed on this show about how weak the driver list is for the World of Outlaws. Is this an attempt to try to move past the World of Outlaws in a status in the pecking order of late model racing?
And they all pay better, at least on top. I haven't seen what the breakdown is, right? I don't know what it is to start or whatever, but you look at all the races are all a minimum of 25 grand to win, right? 25 and 50 at most of them. So, here's the way I look at it, right? We've talked about it with tracks that figure they got to have 9 classes of cars, right? If you have a 14-inch circle, right? and there's so much area in the circle, you still only have so much area, whether you cut it in half or cut it into 15 pieces. I don't know what they're doing. They got there's already the Lucas series. There's already World of Outlaws. Then you have the Hell Tour. You got the Lucas Oil MLRA. Now you got this XR deal. There's only so many late models to go around. Now, and I've heard some fans say, well, yeah, but this gives more people an opportunity to win. As a race fan, I don't want to see a freaking watered down field of cars.
Right. I
don't want to see when there's, oh man, like the Lucas Oil race last night, there was 26 cars at Rome, right? Or I guess Sunday night. Is that what it's going to come to when they see World of Outlaws is already struggling. I mean, you look at some of these shows, they didn't even have a full field at some of their shows. At some shows, I believe Jackson, right? They didn't even hit 20. So now all of a sudden they start looking at all this and now they're competing with this. And drivers, rumor has it Ricky Weiss is already considering not following the World of Outlaws. Rumor has it that Bishop might not be in the Rocket One. They might be doing their own thing. Well, if he does his own thing, is he going to stick with the World of Outlaws, or is he going to be a guy that says, you know what, there's a lot of money to be made here. I can go do all these other things. And I think Puka hit the nail on the head. I don't know if this is an intentional attempt to derail the World of Outlaws. It's certainly not helping the World of Outlaws. So I don't know what the thought process is here.
Well, and we talked about this once on the show before. I think Puka brought it up. It was at least 6 or 7 years ago that there was a third series out there, and it didn't even last a full season. And, so it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out as the months progress.
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say a couple of things. These big events, most of them used to be freestanding. It was about 3-4 years ago when Lucas all of a sudden, remember, Bert, when Lucas kind of came in and kind of in 1 year remember when they picked up a bunch of the Crown Jewels, then added them to the Lucas schedule? Like, I don't think the Dirt Track World Championship was sanctioned. I don't think the North-South 100 at one point was, they had rules or whatever, but I don't think it was part of a series. And all of a sudden, Lucas kind of came in, and now, like we report on the Firecracker now, that's going to be a part of it. But there was a time when all these, the USA Nationals was, when I started going in the 90s, it was a UMP, and then it was independent until, 10 years ago, Bert? Then all of a sudden they did the World of Outlaw thing. It wasn't, so maybe we're just kind of going back to the way it always was. It wasn't necessarily a part of a series. We can go way back to the Have a Tampa days and things like the Dixie Shootout were Have a Tampa back then. And then I just looked something up here. So the Duel in the Desert, your $100,000 for Overton. I'm glad I took the under. That's going to be the same weekend as the Peach State Classic, $52,000 to win in Sonoya. They're both the 12th and 13th of November. Yes, the weekend before is the World Finals. Then they're both the same weekend. So Overton, instead of racing at, I guess he doesn't have any obligation unless I don't know if I haven't seen any ads. You got anything on social media that Overton for sure is going to be at the Duel in the Desert? Because he might just say, hey, look, Barry, I'm staying close to home for $52,000.
That is interesting.
Yeah, it's really, I had to look at it. So where is all this stuff? Well, So, and then the weekend after the Duel and the Peach State Classic, the 19th and 20th, that's the King of the Sandbox, the one in Florida at Southern Raceway that the joiners are doing.
Okay. So the Sonoya race for $52,000 to win is in direct competition with the Duel. That is so unfortunate, right? That just angers me. It really does.
Just kind of
everybody just keeps stepping all over each other. Is this? In any way, shape, or form, is this actually good for racing as a whole?
Well, I've said it. And I know what these promoters maybe are trying to do, and I've said it for a long time. If you want a date for super late model racing, especially in those summer months, you need to get it now. I don't know why they're fighting out of these late November dates, but like I said, I-80 brings you all the way to Labor Day. I-80, Falls, Cedar, North South, Topless. Then Port Royal and Iowa scheduled that race, whatever they called it in Iowa this year. And then it's Labor Day. And then it's the World. And then it's Knoxville. So there's several weeks already taken up there. And, of course, you've already got the Dream with it's established in June. You got the Summer Nationals that kind of run there late June, early July. You've got The Show Me, which is always Memorial. There's, getting a date, I understand, but flopping all over yourselves for bad dates seems really weird. But I think overall it could be good for the sport. But everyone just got to, it would be great if these super dirt late models could run 3-day shows. Fans love it. They can't do the whole thing and just race for 50 grand or more each weekend, but we got to spread them out.
So what is the date of that Sonoya race?
So 12th and 13th, it's a practice on the 11th, 10K on the 12th, 52K on the 13th.
So on the Duel in the Desert site, there is a picture. He must be pre-registered, but there's a picture of Brandon Overton heading to the Duel in the Desert.
Okay, well, there it is. And, I think Bloomquist will probably be in Vegas because he loves Vegas, I'm assuming.
Right? Maybe Tyler Erb. You can see Turbo going there.
Yeah, who knows? Don Shaw going to Vegas?
Yeah, I can see maybe Bobby Pierce. It'll be interesting, but yeah, it's quite unfortunate that them are on top of each other. That really sucks. So, but it'll be interesting to see, and just another player coming in, throwing some money around. We'll see if it's long-term, short-term. I guess time will tell. We'll see the impact that it has on the other series. The jury's still out. We'll have to, this is something that we'll be following, and we'll see what happens moving forward. So, down in Richmond, they had the Butterball. I never realized that was a memorial race. There was a gentleman, his nickname was Butterball, but they had it was 20,059 to win. And I don't know if you guys saw that, but Zach Dome parked in Victory Lane. Did you watch that race at all?
I did not see that one.
So Ricky Weiss was there. I don't know what happened in the heat. He got caught up in something. He ended up getting up to 6th in the feature. But Ross Bales started on the front row next to that Jared Hawkins and spun out on lap 1, collected Hawkins. Hawkins was out. And Ross Bales actually went to the back and drove back up into the top 5. He got 4th in that race. So decent race over in Richmond for 20 grand to win. Zach Dome, he's pretty excited. That must be one of his bigger wins, I would guess, of his career. Wouldn't you think?
I would think so.
Yeah. He's had some good runs out east, but yeah, that's a big one for him.
Did you guys, Devin Moran, anybody see how he did this past weekend?
I saw that he won at West Virginia Speedway, and I watched a little bit of that, and man, that track is big.
Yeah,
those straightaways are so long.
Sponsored by MyPillow, or it should be, because that will put you to sleep at the end of that one. Light car count under, I think it was around 20 cars.
No, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, he parked in Victory Lane both nights. I think he ended up coming out of there with like 20, 25 grand in 2 nights of racing.
But there's another guy now. Cody Overton also announced like an independent schedule, Brandon's brother. But there's another guy, Moran, just kind of pick and chose. He went to Texas, could have had second for 20 grand, decided to go for the win. But he just kind of plopped in and out. And he's done some winning. Like I said, what was that Iowa race? What was that? I got to look this up now. That Iowa race that was the same weekend as Port Royal. Sorry, race fans. You have a disorganized host here.
The Quad
Cities 150, they called it. Remember the 3-day show there, and then Moran, he came over, and so he was a World of Outlaw Rookie of the Year. Well, I think one of the years they were in Hibbing there. I don't know if it was the first year in 14 or maybe in 15, but anyway, he kind of got off the series things and just kind of picking and choosing and had a really successful year, in my opinion.
Yeah, he sure did. I was surprised that he fell off the Lucas series because he was up there in the points, and next thing you know, he just missed the show, and we're like, where the heck was he? And then he started picking and choosing after that. Super Dirt Week was this week. I know Bert sent us a little video of the action, the 200 lap race for 50 grand to win for the big block modifieds. What happened over in Oswego, Bert?
I don't know. I really couldn't see anything, so I'm not sure what happened there.
I'm here to tell you, racers, race fans, if you complain about our tracks in our area, and we all do, we're all critical, and it just is what it is, you need to just jump online and see what this shithole looked like. It was unbelievable. And I didn't realize this until looking on Facebook. It's normally a paved deal, and they just added a bunch of dirt for this race, and it did not hold together. You couldn't see... you could not see the infield on lap 1. It was so bad, unsafe. Just absolutely terrible, which is unfortunate because Super Dirt Week is so iconic in that area. And then they have a debacle like this. It's like, and stuff I read said that it just ain't been good for a long time. Should they rethink where they have that deal? I don't know why they have it there.
Well, I think they have it there because the other track, was it in Syracuse? They tore it down, or
Yeah.
right? Or,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. Move it to Canada. They're close enough.
Right. Yeah. Move it somewhere, but that place does not seem like it's the place to have it. Of course, we touched on the USRA Nationals, Dustin Sorensen sweeping the weekend. Hats off to him. But what else we got on? I know you guys got a couple more things on.
Yeah, I got a couple more things. Wild West Shootout. I don't know if you guys saw. So the Wild West Shootout moving from Arizona Speedway. That, nice facility. I've never seen a race there. I've been there a couple times. At my in-laws winter down in Arizona, so I've been down there. Unfortunately, not during the races. So they moving over to Vado this year. If you can win all 6 nights, Penske Shocks throwing in a $300,000 bonus. Pretty cool deal there. And the repairable vehicles, Tri-State Series, they wrapped up their season. Justin Zeitner, who also incidentally ended up being your points champion. He was started 4th, won the race. John Canta in the house with the 2nd place run, which is yeah, our buddy Blair Northdurf. Yep. Never get that one right. 15th to 3rd. They were down in Slayton County's Murray Speedway. So anyway, congratulations, Justin Zeitner, on the points championship, wrapping that baby up.
And down in Batesville, of course, they just had the Race for Hope 74, I think it was called, just a couple weeks back. What's going on down in Batesville this weekend, Bert?
Yeah, another $50,000 is up for grabs. This time it's going to be IMCA stock cars hitting the track down there. I'm not sure if any drivers from Eastern Wisconsin are heading down there, but it wouldn't shock me if some do make the trip down there. There's plenty of top-notch drivers in Northeast Wisconsin that would represent well. It'll be interesting to see how this event, how it goes. I know when it was first announced, the IMCA stock car drivers were all excited and stuff, but then other people are saying, well, IMCA stock cars shouldn't be racing for $50,000 to win. You want to get money out of racing, you don't put on races like this for a stock car class. So, I mean, there's 2 sides of the issue, and I can see both sides. So I'm curious to see how everything shakes out down there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it'll be entertaining. I tell you what, as far as a fan watching racing, whether it's with Soda Street Stocks, IMCA stock cars, whatever, they put on a hell of a show. I mean, they are incredibly fun to watch. But when there's this kind of money, I mean, it drives the cost way up because people are going to spend money. But with that said, I mean, I've also seen drivers racing for $300, spending every dollar they've ever had too. So it's kind of a slippery slope. So somebody's going to walk away from there pretty darn happy. So let's get to it. The must see. There's not a lot of racing going on over the next week here, right? Things are winding down. But let's go with our must see events of the week. Puka, brought to you by.
Yes, RV Share. We've talked about them a little bit in the past. Go down to the link below. So if you have an RV season kind of ending up north here. It's getting a little cold. Maybe you're going to have it out for deer hunting and they're not going to use it, but maybe someone wants to use it and go south with it. You can rent your RV on RV Share. Also, if you're looking to do some RVing, click on the link below. Like I said, it'll bring you over and you can rent. There's all kinds. There's Class A, the small trailers, all the way to the big trailers, every kind of camper you could want. So check out RV Share, whether you want to make a little dough or whether you want to have a little fun. You want to head up to Superior and do some camping. They got the big fairgrounds there. I think they even have a bunch of plug-in areas there for you if you're camping there too. Go to RV Share, hook into your ride, and have some fun this weekend.
So, Bert, what are you looking forward to racing for racing action this weekend?
I am looking forward to the Dirt Track World Championship. That should be a good event, especially since we all pick different drivers. So there'll be a little.
Oh, he cut out. Puka, you got him?
No, I can't hear him. You there, Bert? Oh, he froze up a little bit now. So I'll go and we'll see if he comes back.
You go.
He's back. So
okay.
We had a little technical difficulty. Phone probably rang.
My battery is running out. I have less than 20%, so I got to talk fast, I guess. I'm also looking forward to Batesville, the IMCA Modified or the IMCA Stock Car Show down there to see how that plays out.
And then also,
what's that?
Is that on Flow?
I'm not sure what it's got to be streamed somewhere though. I'm not sure if it's on Flow.
Okay.
And then I'm looking forward to the 411 that's going to be on Flow.
Yeah, that's actually tonight because we're airing this on Tuesday. So, Puka, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, the Can-Am Clash, congrats, Chris Steffen, if you can get that in, and everyone at FYE. It's been on my schedule. I might actually make it. I'm going to be in the Twin Ports on Friday, so I might make Fridays. We'll see. If it's still forecast to be 48 degrees, probably not. Unless I can find a parking spot with the car where I can pull in and my windows are protected, then I'll think about it. Dirt Track World Championship that goes without saying. And then just to be different, since I was looking at Sonoya's schedule for that $52,000 to win race, I'm really looking forward at Sonoya to the double money weekend for the Hot Shots, Bombers, Hobby, 602 and 602 Chargers. I'm really looking forward to that one. I think that one's streaming on www.bertandryanejo.com.
And those are probably afternoon races too.
Start at noon, yeah.
They're actually
Bert,
racing on Saturday in Georgia. Can't believe it.
You get hit in the head with a hockey puck or something like.
He got hit in the head with a rock. I was there.
Yeah, it's finally starting to come into fruition. Right. So I'm gonna go Dirt Track World Championship. It's iconic, right? I mean, we're talking $100,000 to win. It's a prestigious event. It's one of the biggest crown jewels in dirt late model racing. I'm looking forward to that. It should be good. The heat races last year, if you remember, were not great, but the feature was pretty good. Brandon Shepard put on a clinic last year. He won that last year, right? Shepard did? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got 4 of them. Like I said, he's going for his 5th. It's kind of been a quietly done that. I mean, he's a pretty good guy to have 4 of those already.
Been solid over the last 6-8 weeks. He's got a lot of podiums, so he's been good. I mean, unfortunate for you guys, Overton's going to win, but it just is what it is. I also will say the Can-Am Clash, particularly because of the points chase. Okay. Superior, Gondik Law Speedway, they put on good racing. I don't know what the car count's going to be like. It's going to be a little cold, but the thing that has me engaged into this is to see how things shake out, particularly in the Wissota Modifieds. Can Shane Sobrasky steal it from him on the final night, or will TPO hold him off to win his first ever national title? And I don't know if you saw the format. They're doing they announced they're doing a double heat format on Friday, and then they're doing the feature on Saturday. So they changed up the format a little bit. Double heats with a passing point deal to line up the feature for Saturday. And they did get rid of the draw fees for that event. So I don't know if they had a sponsor come in. I did not see that. It should have it, but no draw fee for the drivers for that event. So that's kind of a cool deal. And then the Lucas Oil MLRE event over at Tri-City, I'm looking forward to that one. That is on Friday and Saturday on Flow. I know we talked about the smooth operator, Bobby Pierce. He has that on his schedule. He'll be there. And I'm guessing G Squared will probably be there. I'm guessing a lot of the guys regionally, that maybe aren't heading down to the Dirt Track World Championships. I can see like a Heckenass possibly being there, maybe Brian Shirley, that contingent of people. Some of the folks that follow like the Mars Series, the Hell Tour, some pretty good hot rods. So I expect to see some pretty good cars down there. And I tell you, it's getting chilly. I am so incredibly thankful for places like Dirt Race Central. When you start looking at forecasts in the 40s and high 30s, I'm like, I love racing. I do, but I'm telling you what, I played hockey, and honestly, you stayed warmer playing hockey than I did, Puka, because you actually played. I sat on the bench and watched y'all, so I got cold, right? So I'm not interested in getting cold anymore. So but I tell you what, I'm so pumped. I mean, and there's racing. I talked to Jeff, right? Things are winding down, and we're like, man, because we're doing our picks, and we're discussing, well, when should we end the picks? And I'm like, it depends if I'm leading or not. We'll just decide. And so we decided, we started looking at all these races coming up, right? You still, I mean, there's races all the way through December. There's something. There might not be multiple races every week, but there's something all the way through. So we're going to go through the last weekend of the year, and then at the end of the year is when we're going to end. And the winner of us 6 who has the most, they're going to get a free car or something. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, lots of racing action.
Electric car too. It'll be an electric car.
Yeah, it'll probably be or something is probably what it'll be. So we'll go with that. But yeah, lots of racing coming up, and you know, there's never a week where we don't have something to talk about. Fans, jump on board, put your comments in, give us your thoughts, and Puka, why don't you bring us home?
Well, I wonder if we're going to get the hat trick at Gondik this year at the scales. You know, is deck height going to be the factor again? You know, and we're talking about Shane Sobrasky in this championship. If he loses it, does it go back to deck height? You know, they might get the hat trick. We're going to have to really keep our eyes on the drama, what goes on there at the teching area at Gondik Law Speedway.
Well, that might be a topic of conversation next week because remember, he, in my opinion, he got hosed out of 5 points. He's down by 2 right now. If it ends this way, boy, that's be a sick way to lose a championship on getting robbed because of the teching ordeal. But I guess it's not over yet. There's still one more weekend yet. We'll find out what happens. All
right. Good luck to everyone that heads up to Superior, Wisconsin this weekend. Find the 3 of us on Facebook, at Bert Lehman, at Ryan Emil, at Racer Puka. Like I said, we do have some swag. If I head down to Superior, I'll have some with me. Thanks to all of our great partners, Dirt Track Supply, BuyRaceShirts.com, RV Share, Cowboy Up Racing, Zuli's Race Engines, Blue Line Brews, Vernon Racing. Comment. Share the show. We're almost to the end here. If you like what you got here, share it out. Sharing is caring. More people will be exposed to the show if you do share it. If you want to get a message to us privately, theonetogoshow@gmail.com. Hit us up, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, YouTube. Like I said, we had that one video of Chris Madden, like 57,000 views on TikTok. So my kids think I'm pretty cool. They said, Dad, you're blowing up on TikTok. So pretty good for an old guy. And most importantly, get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the One to Go Show.